All right, great. I think we are live now. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, how you
It's
doing,
great.
Eric? What's going on, man?
I'm good, buddy. It's good to see you again.
Yes,
It's good to see
absolutely.
you, mate.
Always,
Yeah,
man. Rock that. Very cool.
yeah.
How
Can
is it
you?
in Australia?
It's getting cold. It's winter,
Yeah,
and yeah, I'm not used to winter weather, or in another words, just my model is not used to winter weather.
really. Winter there? Wow.
For typical, Bondi Beach, those rock pool, the kind of scenario I wouldn't be able to do so because it's just getting a bit chilly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
I
cool.
miss all this. I miss my summers. How about
Wow.
you?
Well, it's summer here, but it's raining right now, right? So
Yeah,
just so odd, like on the other side of the world, how everything is impacted, that you guys are like
yeah,
12, 14 hours ahead of us, um and that it's winter, right? They are in a bit chilly, and it's warm here, or at least it's supposed to be. So very cool. So rock that, man. Yeah. Stay
yeah,
warm. You know what I mean? Keep your hoodie on.
yeah. Do you wanna share about the recent projects you're doing,
Yeah, man.
Sean?
So just had a photograph go. It just went viral over in the States, and
Yeah,
it was around it was a Civil War image of a high school senior student who does reenactments as a hobby. And so there's a fort that was built in 1796 in Detroit called Fort Wayne, the historic Fort Wayne, and they do Civil War reenactments. And so this
yep,
student, this 17-year-old boy, dresses up in old Civil War garb and costuming, and they do the entire reenactment. Well, I did his high school senior photos. They were very, very cool. And news story, they did a local news story on us, and that went viral, and it went national, right? So that's been really, really cool. And so we've just been kind of building and growing off of that, and that's going on. And I shot part of that with the AD100 PRO. I love this light. Oh my God, this is an amazing light, right? Um, the other thing we got going is that I'm director of photography for TEDx Detroit, and so we're looking at that possibly coming up this year and building our photography team around that and capturing that live. And so we've innovated the way that we capture live events. We actually build a team of photographers of all skill levels, right? Those that are professional, and then giving those that are amateurs chances to actually come in and know what it's like to work a real event. And then we capture that event and we upload the photos in real time. So they're posted on social media in real time as the event is unfolding and as speakers are speaking. We storytell as we capture. It's a pretty cool thing. So we have a crew of about 20, 25 photographers, and an additional crew of about 10 members who do culling and all of that stuff. So there we go. Right.
yeah, awesome.
Rock that.
So, Sean, basically, guys, the format here is that we're going to spend first 10 to 15 minutes for Sean to go over the image she's been doing recently, and please leave all your comments and questions below that we will answer and address all the questions during the QA session, which is after the presentation session, which is going to take about 10 to 15 minutes again. So feel free to leave all your questions, and please stay around because we do have a AD100 PRO giveaway in this video when you answer the question from us. So stay around, stay tuned, and I'll leave that to you, Sean.
All right.
Yep.
So this is when I first got the AD100 PRO. I absolutely love this light because of the versatility of it. And so when we did this session, it was actually Aries. It was actually cold outside. It was winter for us where we shot these images downtown Detroit. And I did everything with the AD100 PRO. And I brought along different modifiers because what I wanted to do, and this was a test, was to photograph one model, different scenarios, just by myself, right? And so I wanted to photograph this by myself. I didn't want any help. I didn't want anybody holding any modifiers to show the versatility of this light right here if you're just shooting by yourself. And so this was one of the first shots that we did, and I had I think I had a 24-inch Octa, double baffled, and we shot this. It might have been f8. It might have been a little bit overcast outside, and so we just used this as a fill. You can see the one light in her eyes, and we shot this fairly close. And the closer that subject is to the light source, the softer the light. And when shooting women, that's kind of what we wanted to achieve here. And so that's what I did. I wanted to kind of move quickly in photographing everything, just to see how fast I could go and make it happen, right? And so this is what we captured with the AD100 PRO with this particular shot, 24-inch Octa, probably at around, to be honest with you, I don't know, it could have been f8. I shot this at. I like shooting at f8. It's just my base is how I started. It's where I learned. Probably 1/125th of a second at f8, right? Probably ISO 100. Rock that. So next slide. If you could show us that same thing. These might have been with the umbrella. And so I think what I did was I immediately took the AD100 PRO. I left it in the SD2 bracket. I left it in the bracket and then put an umbrella in it and handheld. And so I have, I use the Canon 5D Mark IV, and I have the extra battery grip on it. And I know everybody's going mirrorless now. And so I need to, I need to go ahead and make the jump to mirrorless. I've been testing it out, and actually I really do love it. I'm starting to love it. But I had the 5D Mark IV, very heavy camera, right? And so I had it in my right hand, and I held the light with the umbrella through the bracket with the 100 in my left hand, and I shot these just like that, just to show versatility. And I wanted some interest against the backdrop of the building there. So shooting low to high, I love to shoot low to high, and then this one was kind of eyes on and letting the model do her thing, right? Next slide. Very cool. Rock that. These are a little more moody. And so this was with a, I had a video, but we don't have the video, but this was with a 10-degree grid, right? And so immediately took the umbrella out, popped on a 10-degree grid with a reflector onto the bracket with the 100 in it. And I might have bumped up a little bit. This might be shot at f11. I'm not sure. But I wanted a very dramatic shot. We wanted to underexpose the background a little bit. It was already it was cold outside, so it was a little overcast, and we took that light and I handheld it once again, left hand up high, right, shooting down at an angle. And I wanted a very dramatic, kind of milky skin type of dramatic fashion shot, and that's what we got with that 10-degree spot grid. And then the next photo is, this actually might have been the another Octa, but without the baffles in it, right? And so there was some exhaust smoke coming out of the side of the buildings that I thought was pretty cool. And so we captured that. We shot fast because it was extremely cold. And so by the time we were done, our model, snot was coming out our nose, and I don't know if she was too happy with me, Aries, but we got it done, man. So that was these. And then we move into the next series of shots, which is young man. Or this one's a football player. And so I love this shot. Once again, using the AD100 PRO. This was very cool because it was already very, I like dramatic shots, Aries. It was already very overcast, right? And so, and I love that red clay feel of the track at the school. And so we simply sat him down in his jersey with his Air Jordans. And I don't know what kid, I don't know how it is around the world, but kids in the States love their Air Jordans, right? And so we featured his Air Jordan shoes along with his Detroit Lions jersey. And we simply sat him on the thing. Very dramatic shot, underexposed the sky. And we just put the light up high. Once again, this is probably an F8er, right? Just to get some of the sky a little bit more sharp. I didn't go F16 because I didn't want to push the AD100 PRO to its limit. But this is the shot that we got, and I was really pleased with that. It's very overcast. I love the dramatic sky against the dramatic lighting against his dark skin. It's pretty cool, right? I think it tells a really cool story about a high school football player. Next slide, right? This is the kid, the Civil War kid, and you don't see too many black cowboys, let alone black cowboys who are 17 years old, right? And so we were inside of a, I believe the house was built in 1856, Victorian home, everything original, right? And so original stuff on the walls, and he had his white shirt and his cowboy hat, and I just wanted to capture him in that space. It was very dark in there. It was very dusty. And so we just used the AD100 PRO as a simple light source, right? I wanted him to look up at the light. I love shooting low. I think low are powerful shots, right? And so this kind of story tells about this young man who is a black man who is a cowboy in an 1856 Victorian home with the antlers on the wall, right? I just thought this was a very cool complement to his already existent senior pictures that we had done already, right? And so we, you know, of course we can't show all the other ones, but if you look at the next photo, you'll kind of see the storyline continue with him as a cowboy. And so this is sort of like that OK Corral feel of the cowboy with their jeans, his cowboy boots, and his jacket and his cowboy hat. And now the house that we are at the historic Fort Wayne, coolest place on the planet, right? Like established in the 1700s for war, but never seen wartime. And so there are all of these buildings, and this was the prison that was on the property, right? And so this is where they would take people or soldiers who had messed up, and they would put them in jail for a time. And so this building was significant in that way. And so we kind of set him up as if he were the law, standing outside on the front porch. And so the AD100 is camera left, right? And we're providing fill right to his right to that side of him, a little bit behind him, and then having it softly fade off. I wanted to capture the detail of the brick. I wanted to capture the bars on the windows, right? I wanted to capture the whole of him in this particular shot. And still, I'm shooting a little low because I still want him to look powerful. I want him to look authoritative, right? The next shots, I think, are a little fun. You tell me if I'm talking too much, Aries.
Go ahead. I'm enjoying it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and this will be, I think this is the last of the shots, but I also love sun flares. I just think that they're fun. They add some interest to a photograph, and I had just been playing with these. So this young girl had on Air Jordans again, and we were reaching the end of her session, and we had her jump, and there was a sun flare right over that rail. And so it was just perfect to be able to capture that sun flare and expose for her while just slightly underexposing the background, right? Just slightly. And once again, it was very cold that day, which is why in the second photo, her hands are in her pocket. So it served as a pose, but it also served to warm her hands a little bit. And you can see the sun flare entering the aperture of the lens and going right off the side of the hair into her face. Normally, I wouldn't do that, but I just like this image particularly, right? I just thought it was pretty cool and warm, right, for this particular image with the water behind her and the sun setting behind her. So yeah, I think these are cool kind of ways to tell stories, to provide interest and give interest to photographs, right, that help tell stories of people, you know, and make stuff like senior photos or even business photos and things of that nature kind of kind of cool and helps separating people, apart from the pack. So there we go, man. I think we were right on 15 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Guys, gentle reminder, we have a Q&A session now. We're entering Q&A session now. Any question is welcome. So feel free to ask Sean any question, including anything, relevant with the photo. I will tell you two things I love about Sean. Number one, I love the idea about you by yourself with the lights, because every so often, we always looking for excuse to going out of our comfortable zone. We're like, I don't have a lighting assistant, man. It's too heavy and it's just too much hassle to take a lights on location. Look, Sean did all that by himself, even with a Brody, which is umbrella. If he can do it, we all can do it. And besides, AD100 PRO, it's so light. It's like 500 grams. It's the size of a Coke can. If you can drink a Coke on location, you can take your light with you. So that's number one I love about Sean. No assistant, quick setup, and
I'm telling you.
And that's everybody can do this.
But here's the can, right?
Exactly. Another thing I love about Sean's work is, did you guys notice now there is a trend, like f1.4 and blur everything. It's beautiful. Including me, I'm part of the guy who's doing that. But it's so inspiring. Sean, it's the F8 guys. I'm not saying you guys should do F8, but I'm saying you guys should stick with your own guns. Does it make sense? We all, as individual creative, we all inspired by each other. That is fine. But end of the day, you should develop your own style. I love about Sean is he's sticking with his own gun. This is what I do. Like while everybody's talking about high speed sync, and f1.4 or f1.0, which blur the background, tell a way that you can't even tell where it is. What's the context? He's doing storytelling portrait and with f8, which works for him perfectly. The detail of the breaks, and there are so many images, the uniform images with a building in the background. You guys should totally check his Facebook out. It's already going viral online. It's one of my favorite image. You couldn't do it by f1.4 because it's just blur everything out. You can't even tell it's a building or it's a sky in the background. And f8, there is a reason small aperture works, and it works perfectly for Sean's style in terms of storytelling. I would encourage all of you to try all the formulas or all the recipes, whichever works for you to be creative. And that's my epiphany from Sean. Thank you for the inspiration, and I love it. I love our talk.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm gonna tell you, man. That's kind of started out of all that stuff started out of need, right? So not wanting to carry equipment, 24-70 lives on my camera because variety, right, and ease of use, and being able to capture versatility and whatever I needed to capture a little bit, right? And Kinsman just asked me that question. Most of the time, the lens that I use is a 24-70 2.8. I love that lens. It lives on my camera because of the versatility of it. I can do portraits with it, as well as I can wide out and capture the background. Also, I love to use it at 24 a lot because lenses at that focal length cause distortion, and when you're shooting low, angles tend to go extreme, right? I love that. Most people don't. Like, if you're shooting architecture, this is not good, right? You certainly want straight lines, but with people, with high school seniors and creative portraits, I love capturing the background, and I love the effect and power that those angles give me, and what I'm able to create and capture with wide angles. So 24-70 there, Kinsman. Thank you for your question, man. Rock that. Where was the light placed on her? And I'm assuming you're talking about the young lady that was jumping.
I think is that question, or that's the young lady was jumping. Let me just swap to the jumping photo. Just give me a sec. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Both. I think the one jumping was upper right, camera right and high, shooting high to low, 45-degree angle. And though I would say that it's the same for the one on the left, right? I like shooting 45-degree angles, right? 2/3 is just, base. It's just base stuff, right? And that comes from my days from shooting in the studio, 45-degree angle, 6 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet away from the backdrop.
Did you use any accessory like umbrella or the AKR1 dome?
So,
Or
so this was AD100 PRO with a. There was an accessory. It's not an umbrella. It's a Aries, help me out. Which one is it? It's the
softbox.
I think it was the 120. The P120.
Oh, P120.
Yeah, the P.
Oh, it's a big it's the big modifier, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a huge
modifier.
Huge modifier. So I wanted to set it up. I wanted to capture some good stuff because we did some group stuff out there. And so I wanted soft light. I wanted soft light. I wanted a big modifier because I wanted soft light across. It was about 3 or 4 people that we had to capture, right? And so I used the 120 and we just used that on her. So we put it up high, C-stand, and we blasted her out. Right. And so the sun was setting, and so it was important for me to capture these quickly. Right.
Sam, a quick follow-up. So P120 Sean's referring to is the 120 centimeters parabolic softbox. The bigger the softbox is, the softer the light is. So it's important to have a bigger softbox when we're taking group photos, because we need to place that further away from the group as well, each of which will have relevantly smaller lights. So
yes,
the light source become relevantly smaller because it's further away. So it's important to have a larger larger light modifiers for group portrait. Just for the information, I thought you might be interested.
So, and we use the S2 bracket with the 100, and and so you'll see the transitions in the shadows a little softer on those. So, absolutely. What f-stop did you use on the jumping photo? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you it's at least f8. I'll tell you, Jack, it's at least f8 that I use. Shutter speed might have been 1/125th of a second. Might have been 1/60th of a second. I'd have to look at the metadata on that. But we froze with flash, and of course it's the on 3, 1, 2, 3 jump right capture. Flash helps freeze. So how do you balance strobe and ambient light outside? Easy, light meter, and use your eyes, right? So I don't people ask that a lot, right? Like, how do you I think after you do it for so long, you can just kind of see it and make it happen. You know what you're looking for. I think the second portrait might have been shot at 2.8. That was certainly a lower aperture. Might have been 2.8, might have been 3.5, or something like that. But you get to a point where you kind of know what you want to do. But I always started out metering light, right? And you meter to what you need to. You might have Aries. What would you?
Basically, what I would do is I'm metering the natural light without flash. If you're looking for natural, like there's no formula. It's not math. So there's no formula for everyone. But if you want to go for the natural end, stick with ambient. So 0 EV or minus a third EV. If you want to go ahead with the kind of dramatic punch sort of information, like a bit darker and moody, and the portrait kind of stand out, go for -1 stop or even -2 stops, like what Sean did at the train station. So it's really your taste. How would you like to balance the ambient and the strobe? But the idea is the ambient light control the environment. Your strobe controls how bright your model should be.
That's right.
That's the idea. Yeah.
What were the modifiers of the last of this?
Yeah, it's the same. So it's P120. I think that question has already been addressed.
Yeah. What is the best small modifier for the AD100 Pro? The best small ones is probably that AK kit. I love my 24 deep Octa. There's a 24-inch deep Octa that I use. Umbrellas I use, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if it's the best modifier, but for ease of use and carry, that is the deciding factor for me. Right. So I know when I started at carrying all of that stuff on location, and then shooting for hours and then having to carry all of that stuff back was a pain in the rear.
Yeah.
And so small is better. And I think that umbrellas give you great light sources, great soft light sources. You can do shiny material. You can do the white material, you can do the black, you can have 3 umbrellas and they're all easy to carry. You can do what you need to do, right? I think those are probably I would say the best small modifiers for versatility when you're out in the field and portable.
Yeah. You know what I love about Sean? Because Sean actually inspired me. You inspired me way further than you could imagine.
Oh my God.
So remember in our last talk, you said you only use 1 modifier on location?
Yeah.
Ever since our talk, that's what I start doing, and life gets way easier. I realize I don't need to change a modifier for every single image, which I kind of burns out. I was already tired before I started clicking the shutters because all the weightlifting, and I'm away, and you are way. You have a way more muscle than I am. You can imagine how tired I was, and I was walking on the beach, working in the sands. I was climbing the rocks. Oh man. Oh, I love Australian hiking, but not with 20 kilos of gears.
Yeah.
So ever since our last talk, I started to just use 1 modifier on 1 light.
Very
it changed
cool.
the way I talk. I'll share with you later. But yeah. But thank you, Sean.
Cool.
That's the personal epiphany I took out from our last chat.
Man, I'm telling you. Hey Sean, does your F8 default come from the old press photographer's F8 and be there? No, it doesn't come from that. But you know what? I might have been taught that way though. The fuck old press photographers F8 and be there. Yeah, that
sounds
is
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Simon, you're pretty good with coming up, with
all those sales F8, baby.
Yeah, man. we probably should use as the topic of our talk. F8 and be there. How cool that is.
No, that's
man.
It might.
Simon, you're a genius.
When I learned a lot of like that's my default, right? Is 1/125th of a second at F8. I just love starting at F8, and then what I do is that becomes my base for especially when I was in studio, that becomes my base. But since I have been storytelling, F8 is important to me because it captures the background, right? It is a place where I need to get background for the most part in focus enough to be able to tell the story for the high school senior or the subject or the business person or the environmental portrait that I'm looking to do. So that's why F8 is important to me. Now, I love 1.4, 1.6, F2, right? 2.8 for portraits. I think those are the milky bokeh is some of the most beautiful stuff that you will ever see in your life, stuff that is well lit and well balanced and all of that stuff. But for my niche and for my genre and my clientele, they love what I do in storytelling. They particularly pick locations because they want to feature them. And so that's the reason for F8. But I might have learned that way though, Simon. All right. How many lights do you like to use the most, just one AD100 or multiple. One. I like to use one AD100 Pro.
Yeah.
You want to know why? And this might sound like, Sean, oh my gosh, Sean, you're not an artist. You're not a true artist. When you've been photographing for years, time means something, right? Time, versatility, ease means something. And when you're on location and you have multiple sessions in a day and you got to get it done, you want to get it done with the least amount as possible. And so that has, when my career started and I needed to make money in my career, that was my approach. This freaking thing right here, oh my God, this thing right here is answer to prayer. Do you hear me? This thing right here is answer. If you tell me, I can put this in my pocket and run. I can put this in my pocket and run and go photograph something with an umbrella real quick and be done and put it back in my pocket. Are you crazy? Oh my goodness. Hottest stuff on the planet. I don't care what you say. Did you use any stick or pole to mount your light? No. So when I did handhold, I used the S2 bracket, right? And so I handheld this, right? I'd hold it up high, and I handheld this. Although this is light, I don't know if I want to put this on a pole, unless I had an assistant holding it, not with my camera in the other hand. Though you can. So other times where you saw the light, it was definitely on a stand or a C stand of some sort way down. So shooting outdoor can be an issue for lower power flash. What was the AD100 Pro? I don't know if I understand what you're talking about.
He's talking about because it's 100 watts lights.
Well, I'm not trying to
shooting outdoor.
I'm not trying to overpower the sun a whole lot. So I'm definitely not using this to do what a 600 watt or 1200 watt flash will do. Exactly. So I'm using this to capture background. Typically when I am shooting, I'm not shooting at dusk, right? It's not dusk or dawn. It's not early in the morning. It's very strategic shooting. I'm shooting on overcast days. So if I want drama and it's an overcast day, then great, right? Because I can still have the feel and the look of overpowering the sun while getting that dramatic shot, right? And still get done what I need to get done. And if I move the modifier close enough to my subject, then I can typically get done what I need to get done. Now, if I can't, I'm not trying to do what a 1200 watt light will do with an AD100 Pro, right? Exactly. So I strategize my sessions that way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
So Michael, if you want to balance the ambient lights, AD100 Pro is perfect, and you can do whatever Sean does. And I think the Sean doesn't do high-speed sync. That kind of saves the battery power and the battery output as well, by avoiding high-speed sync. Be mindful that high-speed sync will drain your battery power as well and your output a bit. And if you need to, combat the sun again, probably go for AD600 or AD1200, like Sean said. It will be a great idea.
Shooting outdoors. Oh, this is Michael again.
Oh yeah. That's the same question, I think. Yeah.
Have you used AD300 Pro? Do you think the AD100 Pro is sufficient power shooting daylight with modifier? I have used the AD300 Pro, and the AD300 Pro is awesome. The AD300 Pro is awesome. I just think that the 100 Pro is more convenient, right? And so with what I'm doing, it's smaller and even lighter than the 300 Pro. I think 300 Pro gives you good power. I think that's a good all-around light. Actually, to be honest with you, I think the range of lights that Godox has come out with makes it extremely difficult to choose one over the other. Right? You got the 100, the 200, and you have the 200 with the round head. You have the 300, the 400, and then the 600 Pro, right? And then you jump into the 1200 Pro. You have a great range of lights. It's very difficult. I would say if you were getting a first-time light, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I would say if you're meaning to run and gun kind of shoots, you just use AKR1, like small modifiers, like AKR1. Go for AD100 Pro. It's no brainer. If you mainly shoot with larger modifiers such as umbrella or softbox, and lots of time you are having a California or Hawaiian kind of weather. You're going on the beach and you try to balance the ambient. Go for AD300. So it's all personal, and it depends on the way you shoot. If you're wedding photographer, lots of time you don't have time for softbox. I would say AD100 Pro. If you're portrait photographer like Sean, and you shoot this kind of environment portrait, you can go for AD100 Pro or AD300 Pro. And if you like me, I shoot lots of editorial fashion in Rockpool or Bandai Beach, that kind of vibe. I would probably go more with AD300 Pro. So it's the way you shoot, Mike. It's the way you shoot.
Now, if you're looking to hand hold, right, and you're going to be shooting for a long time and it's just you, then certainly the AD100 Pro, right? So this AD100 is half power than the AD200. I'm going to say that's an effective yes. Yeah. So 100 watts of power versus 200 watt-seconds of power. So yeah, absolutely.
On paper, yes, it's watts. It's watts, right? It's mathematics. Two divided by two is equal to 1.
Yeah.
In real life, personally, I find 100 Pro is a bit more powerful than half of AD200 Pro. The reason is with 200 Pro, I personally just adapt a round head on it. It will, and 100 Pro comparing with it, the power is very close. If you're juggling between 200 Pro with round head or 100 Pro, I would go for 100 Pro. It's especially given the size. The size of 100 Pro is very similar to a Coke can. It's much easier to pack in your camera bag because it looks like a lens. It's like it's like 50 standard sort of 50 GM kind of Sony lens, the size of Sony lens. So it's way easier to pack in your backpack. That's my personal take out of it. Yeah.
So yeah, I know that there are tests on that stuff, but
yeah,
cool.
There are other people, other guys I love. They did some really in details comparison between 200 Pro and 100 Pro. You guys can check it out on the internet. So
cool. Yes, I understand. Less equipment because, gosh, yes. Do you do a lot of street photography? Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of outdoor photography, and that includes street photography, but it's portrait, right? So it is portrait and street photography, and I still use the AD100 Pro, right? And what I find is that I'm either using the AD100 Pro, or if I need to bump up, I'm bumping up to the AD400 Pro. And the reason that I like to use the 400 is because of the proprietary mount. So it has this, it has a mounting system that allows you to add a Bowens, right? So it has an adapter that you put on the AD400 Pro that allows you to put a Bowens mount modifier on there, as well as it has the proprietary Godox mount for the S65 W and the S85W, right? So it gives me versatility in that sense. What's also pretty cool about the 400 is that you can also mount it in the S2 bracket, which is actually pretty cool. You got to be careful with that. You can mount it in the S2 bracket, but you want to make sure it's pretty heavy for that. So either one I do use for street photography, but my go-to is the AD100 Pro, strictly because of the versatility, and I build my sessions around that light.
Yeah. Be mindful, Sean is a lonely wolf, so that's part of the reason as well. Yeah.
That Sean, you were lucky you didn't start back when it was preached that to do any kind of job that could be called pro, you had to have 5 lights. Hey, I learned from photographers who did that stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think times have come along, right? I mean, I remember the days where there was no wireless, right? Or you had to have these super huge heavy battery packs to do wireless on location, or big cams and big rangefinders, all of that stuff, and wires strewn everywhere to light packs and heads and all of that stuff, right? And so if you look where we've come, yeah, I was kind of raised in that a little bit, but my stuff wasn't good back then. I was learning, right? So it's just now technology has come so far that it's just absolutely amazing. So
I think Jazzy, be mindful. It depends on the context. If you are a studio guy, you have the 5 light set up there, you never have to change it. By all means, right? It's the right thing to do. And also be mindful that with studio, lots of time you need to use 3 lights on 2 lights on the background and 1 light's just on the hair light. But with what Sean does, it's outdoor. He doesn't need those. It's already ambient lights going on there already. And also be mindful, Sean is a working photographer, which means his time equivalent to cash, right? He needs to shoot as many as possible. The quantity, it's a mathematical game, right? You sell by images, so you have to make sure you deliver the whole pack, the album, as the clients, the story, which we discussed today, as the clients discussed, not just one image that satisfy other photographers. He has real clients. That's the case here.
That's a good point, right? So I mean, we are artists, right? And we do what we do, but we also have clients, right? And so there is a you have to decide where that line is, where you do your artistry and you invest that time into your artistry.
Exactly.
Where you may use 5 lights compared to how do you make your money? Because for the photographer, time is money, right? And being able to maximize your time and get stuff done like you need to get done. We're not just talking about photographing. We're also talking about uploading and post-producing and all of that stuff that needs to happen. Client interaction, all of those things. They need to have great experience, and you want to be efficient in your workflow, right? All of that stuff is a factor when you are full-time as a photographer or making money in business, because you're not just a photographer, then you're a business owner, right? And so you have to conduct business in a way. This is sort of what led to a lot of the decisions that I made in how I photograph, if that makes sense.
I think, Jazzy, another day is the way you set up your business. If you're selling large prints, like 100-inch prints, which itself costs $30,000, man, and the clients expect you to use 5 lights, by all means, go ahead. That's the way you set up business. If you're like me and Sean, like I'm doing wedding albums. I'll sell by album pages. If Sean is doing, I would imagine Sean's doing similar. So it's different way of setting up business, and that will affect the way we lead for commercial kind of work. And that's the way it is, Mike.
Rock that. I'm exploring a series of caricatures in abandoned places. Play Dr. Mask. What would you suggest as modifiers? Just the Godox kit adapters, umbrellas, softboxes? That depends. That depends on your style. That depends. I mean, that's like all things photographic, right? It depends. Right? That's the answer to all things photographic. So remember, light is the definition of photography, right? Photograph is to paint with light, right? Or to draw with light. It depends on how you want to draw your photograph, right? It will depend on the modifiers that you want to use. And it probably is not a great idea for me to suggest a modifier for you. What I would do if I were you is I would just get some modifiers and start testing right, your paint, if that makes sense. And seeing what it is that you want to do, because all modifiers are going to do something different, and they're going to do them different in different environments with different lighting setups. So right.
Alex, if I were you, what I'll do is, number one, I'll get assistant physically as strong as Sean to carry all the camera and lighting equipment and system for you, so you can focus on being creative. And number two, and when you want to move the lights around, you have an assistant which makes your life a way easier before you become fully experienced in that field. And number two is, I would go for the cheapest light modifiers, which is AD100. I think it costs like $20 or less, and get an umbrella, because umbrella is the cheapest soft light modifiers. So you have a bit harsh light, you have a soft light, you can choose either one of those, or you can choose to mix those. And you can test your recipe on the location which you described, which best fits your taste. So I would say those two options. Get a lighting assistant, get a soft light source modifier, get a harsh light source modifier, and have fun. Have fun.
That's good. That's good. Rock that. What is your favorite item from the AKR1 kit with the 8100, or the most useful? I love the dome.
Yep.
I don't know where my kit is. It's probably in the back. I'm not gonna go get it because we're on this live. But there is there's a dome that you place over the light that makes it even softer, which is pretty cool. Actually, that whole kit is pretty dope. There are gels that are right there with that kit. There are barn doors. There is a bounce card. It is all useful, right? But I love the dome that makes the light softer. I think the round head in the AD100 PRO is really, really cool. I think that and I love the modeling lamp on that light. I think that dome even softens the light even more, which makes that cool. I think that that's useful for me. Rock that. Thank you.
I think that's the last question we need to address. And
rock that. Beautiful.
People love you.
Thank you, Alex. You rock.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I think that wraps up for our talk today. Thank you, Sean, again for your time.
Thank you.
You can follow Sean's Sean. You can find Sean's work on his Facebook as well as his Instagram, and he's also holding this great conference. Can you talk about it before we wrap up?
Yes. So I am CEO, and I run the Rock That Photography Conference and Trade Show over here in the States, and we just had a virtual conference that Aries spoke at. It was amazing. We had 1,000 registrants at this conference, and it was absolutely amazing. This conference is set up and designed to feed and to grow all cultures of photographer. We were built to invest in creatives. That is it. We are a nonprofit organization. We are not set up for profit. We are set up to invest in photographers and to build a community around you all that helps you to grow. And people like Aries, who has lent his talent and his education, his knowledge to the conference. These type of people are the people that we bring on board to teach, right? People at very high levels that have accomplished a whole lot, but are seasoned, right? And have seen the ups and downs of business, right? And these are the people that we bring before you to invest in you. So September 2nd through the 4th, we're doing the actual conference. We will have the physical conference with a version of virtual as a part of it for September 2nd through the 4th, 2021, right? So rockthatconference.com is where we are, and we love photographers.com.
Yeah. Awesome. Rockthatconference.com. And thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I'll see you till next time. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you, Mike.
Thank you. All
Bye-bye.
right, Aries. Thank you, man. Bye-bye.